So I'm going to move us on to the next topic, which I think we've actually already partially addressed. It was about evaluating bids and how to use the evaluation strategy and criteria to differentiate bidders and to drive solutions that meet business objectives. We talked a little bit about cost before, so maybe we can carry on with that. But also, I was interested in understanding your thoughts around, what kind of techniques can you use to try and differentiate bidders and spread them apart so it's clear, who's a winner, and also evaluating responsiveness to requirements and things like, demonstrations, things like that that are maybe difficult to evaluate, and you get into more subjectivity. So I'd be interested in your thoughts on that.
Well, I was going to jump right to evaluation. I was going to say consensus evaluation. Only because of that protest thing.
And PRAs afterwards.
And PRAs, just everyone at the evaluation table has to agree on how you're going to score that bidder, and that's it. And then there's nothing to argue saying, well, this evaluator preferred that vendor, so that's why they gave them a really high score here, and this other contractor, they gave a really low score so that their average would fall out. So I would say consensus scoring. And then the other thing is the scoring itself. Keep it simple. Don't make it so convoluted that it's hard to calculate and weight and all that. I like to use, 3, good, bad, or just meets it, and so,
bad,
I just like...
If they don't meet it, then they're out. Then they're out. So you need maybe 4 categories. If they don't meet it, you're out.
3. I like 5. But keep it simple.
And then, the suppliers have the right, and we should have criteria and train our people. I mean, I have a whole little hour and a half thing I do with my customers. Not that I own them, but the customers I serve, with training the evaluation team on how to evaluate. So when we get the RFPs in, everybody has the same baseline of knowledge and have agreed to criteria and have an understanding of the criteria when we start the evaluation process, so that you're not, and some people may, want their customers to go into a locked room and they all have to sit there with the binders, and some allow it, but I would always recommend that people, they're at least checked out and signed for. You give them a number and you check them out and sign, because they get lost. And then if you have a protest or if something's going on, the supplier will say, because this happened to me, the supplier will say, see, they gave my binders away to somebody during the drafts, and that's why they knew what I was going to propose, and I didn't win. I mean, there's just all kinds of things that happen that you would never think of in the process. So these lessons learned are really important. It's amazing to me that a supplier would go to the fact that we were trying to do something unethical based on the fact that we couldn't find one binder. But, that's when I started numbering the binders and making people
check them out,
sign them out, or keeping them in a locked room and making everybody go to that room to evaluate. But that's just so not... I mean, that just is almost dysfunctional for some people. So.
Yeah, and we're starting to do everything online now.
Yeah, so it's hard. It is hard.
So again, the vendor community, all they have is to protest the process, that we didn't follow our process, and we all have to do an evaluation selection plan, which lays out exactly how you're going to do your evaluation, and that's what they would be protesting, is you did not follow that process. So as soon as you do your intent to award, they're going to come in and get copies of all of that, and then they're going to say, see, you didn't number those binders, and that's why I didn't get it. So we try to avoid at all cost
not following the process.
So once we've all agreed, once the control agencies and you all have agreed on what that evaluation criteria is and process, then it is the procurement official's responsibility to hold you all to that. that. So try to build in as much flexibility though on your evaluation, and I'm with Sheri. Don't make it complicated. Make it very, very simple that everybody can go through and do it, because you could end up doing an evaluation for months
it'd be horrible.
if you make this too difficult. So,
Mike, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I do. I think one of the gripes that nobody's talked to me directly, but I think I read it in one of the reports I was reading last night from the vendor community, is even though we call things best value, ultimately the way we score them on the technical and administrative part is so close that it ultimately comes down to low cost.
Yes.
So I think what the vendors are looking for from us is, how's this best value criteria working out for you? Because all our bids are so close on the technical and administrative scores that, are you doing enough to differentiate between our solutions? I don't know that I have the answer for that. I mean, I guess we could always tweak the math and do the numbers. So if I had a bid where there's a 20-point difference between bidder 1 and 2, of course I could tweak the math and make it an 80-point difference. But does that really matter? I'm a little bit more concerned that not that there's a 20-point difference or an 80-point difference, but that in the evaluation room, that 20 points means something, and that we've considered that and given it some thorough thought rather than just randomly scoring them to hurry up and let's get this done. That 20 points can mean a lot. It doesn't mean more just because it's 80 points. So that's where I come at it from.
Well, and I think what I've learned over the years is we've gotten away. I mean, we fought so hard to not have to define every single requirement, right? Because in the olden days, that's what we did, is define all of our requirements. We fought really hard to not do that and to go to solution-based contracting or procurements and have the suppliers provide a solution. To me, what I see sometimes coming back into the IT world after being gone for about 5 years is that we're going back to truly requirements-based purchases again. We're not allowing for solutions. We are defining what, basically everything that is our need, rather than just outcomes or business requirements, or letting the supplier, based on what our business need is, provide a solution. Do you guys see that at all? Because I've kind of been gone for 5 years, and it's like, oh my goodness, what happened?
Yeah. So to that, Marnell, a couple of years ago, we put out a proposal asking the vendor community to give us a proposal, and our requirements, we had 5,000 requirements. So putting out an RFP, asking a vendor to give us a proposal with 5,000 requirements, that wasn't a RFP to me. That was a quasi IFB.
Do all of this.
And we did score it. Bottom line is we ended up canceling that RFP. That project was put on hold, and we're re-looking at doing it now. So we'll have less requirements. So when you're thinking about asking a vendor to provide you a solution, you need to have a balance of what are those requirements and what is the most important thing to you in terms of coming up with what that score is to be able to distinguish one vendor from another vendor. So that's my thoughts.
Anybody have any questions?
I might want to also suggest the consideration of demos. And let me share with you on demonstrations.
Yeah.
Early in the process, right?
Yeah, because when the contractors will want to come and give you a dog and pony show. They'll always tell you, what they can do and how they can do it, and it's really the marketing people. You might want to consider having your team, the state, actually put together the expectation of what the demonstration, have them create it. This is what I want you to do, and have them use real data, the data that you have in the system. Now, I can give you an actual example. Carlos, this is public. When Carlos was appointed the TEAL director, as you might remember, within about 30 days when he was just appointed, before he was even confirmed, TEAL got penetrated. Mythical penetration. You guys might remember that. And just think about that. And he got confirmed, and the guy got, blasted by it, oh gosh, he was only there 30 days. He brought me in and he asked me, he says, I need to run a procurement to bring in someone to test our data center to make sure it's accurate. Okay, what we did is we ran a regular procurement, with, an RFP and all that type of stuff. But all we did in that particular case is we had them come up with a set of the top 6 who, wrote essentially the best proposal, the top 6. But we also had, what we did is we had internally to the field data center, we had them create a demonstration of what the field data center wanted these individuals to prove to them that they could actually use, perform on. Public, and what happened we had an evaluation, who came in number 1 in the evaluation, who came in number 6. And after we ran the demonstration, number 6 came in number 1, and number 1 came in number 6 because contractors know how to write proposals. Very good. But when you put pedal to the metal and you ask them, okay, prove it, don't give me a song and dance on the show. I don't want to see that. I want you to use real data. I'm going to have my team put together a demonstration, and now you execute against that demonstration and let me see you actually be able to perform a solution. You watch them sweat. They will sweat on that because now you're driving the expectations of the solution that you want. And it worked in that particular case, and we ended up selecting the one that had the lowest level of the lowest evaluated proposal. They came in the highest of the demonstration, and Carlos was able to go to the legislature and said, this is why I selected this contractor. And the company did a very, very good job. So I want to, I've developed software in the space program, and I work in the space. And demonstrations are very, very important, but force them to do demonstrations on the state terms, not on the vendor's terms. And I think you're going to get a lot of insight to find out who really can do the job and have them use real data.
And I want to say I agree, and we did that with 2 of our very large projects that happened to be successful. What we did is the systems that were proposed for California were similar to systems they had built for other states. So we actually got out-of-state travel approved. Amazing. Well, it was a while ago. And we went to those states to see the system in action. Not only did we give them data, it's our own data to demonstrate that it could work in the system. We actually went out and visited those other states, talked to the employees and asked them how it went, how the implementation went, the project team, and so it was almost like doing a reference check in addition to watching our data go through the system and how it could work. So yes, I agree with that.
After you put out the RFP, during the evaluation period?
It is part of the evaluation, and I agree with Ben and Sheri, and we did it. I also work for Department of Water Resources, and Jerry Higgs is in the audience, and we did. That was the major evaluation was a true demo, and that was how we selected the vendor, and it was with live data. It took a whole week just to go through the evaluation. We had all of the stakeholders there, and that's how DWR purchased SAP. And what release are you guys on now, Jerry? Huh?
Yeah, ECC. We're on ECC 6.
Yeah, so they're on 6. So they've gone through several maintenances on that, but it is a good system and it's in place today. And again, the procurement really didn't take us that long to actually do that. What was real critical and the time that we spent was planning and understanding what our business requirements are. SAP is a COTS accounting system, if you will, or an ERP system. And so DWR has very little general fund, but looking at their actual business requirements. We had our own business information system, so looking at what our requirements were today, looking at our infrastructure, looking at all of our software, we did all of that work up front so that we knew our business going in, doing negotiations. We had 3 vendors. One of them ended up falling out, but again, they were required to use our live data, and we actually evaluated it based on that. We developed use cases, and anyway, so it was
similar with the proof of concept. Is that the same language?
It's a little different. I mean,
Yeah.
usually a proof of concept, I mean, we did, with the one I said that we negotiated, sat in a room after and negotiated. We did a proof of concept with 2 of the suppliers. And it was, but when you're doing, if you do multiple suppliers, just beware, you've got to have 2 teams. Because you don't do one after the other. They're happening at the same time. So you've got extra resources going on within your department if you're going to do proof of concept and you're going to if the points come in or however you're picking them. We ended up with 3. We couldn't negotiate with one based on the statute just situation. So we ended up doing a proof of concept with 2 of them and then negotiating and writing the contract with one of them after the fact. But yeah, so it was proof of concept was a little different. We looked at the proof of concept as actually using a system. I think we did it over a 2-month period, and actually doing work. Like a pilot kind of thing, but without the strong investment by either the supplier or ourselves for a lot of customization, just to choose that it.
Then why not together?
We did it together.
Why not separately?
Oh, because everybody was in a hurry.
Oh, okay.
Right? So we weren't going to do a 2-month with one supplier and then add another 2 months with another supplier at the end of that. So we actually ended up doing them at the same time and then picking one over the other and then moving to negotiations. So you just have to be prepared.
I'm going to move us on because I think we could spend another hour just on this topic, probably. I'm sort of. The question was, there any concerns about protests with doing a demo?
yes. Yes.
We're always worried about doing protests.
On the deal one, there was no, because it was very clear who came out ahead. It's very qualitative, and the other key thing about real quick is that when you do use real data as it's being done, it addresses another key concern, and that's data conversion. Because these vendors come in and say they can convert anything and they have all these fancy tools. Well, when they use your real data, it's dirty, okay? Well, then they have an opportunity to prove that their particular conversion tools actually do work, can convert the data, can clean the data, go into the system they're having. And so you learn about their conversion solution as well as their SI solution.
So we probably have time just for one more topic.
So-
I got the 10-minute.
Okay, so there's always a concern about protests, but again, when you do your evaluation selection plan and you lay out what your evaluation criteria is going to be and it's solid and you follow your process, there's nothing to protest.
Okay.